WHGE 95.3 FM. Coming up, the Open Eye. Hey, Sherry. Good morning.
Those of us that indulge in or commit intellectual violence don't do so for the pleasure of mental masturbation or ego diddling. We do so because the chains of oppression around people's minds are deep and difficult to remove.
I see. Good morning, my children of the sun. Welcome to the Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM. I'm your host, Third Eye Optometrist, Patrice Gibbs, here to get it started, here to get your eye open. Wait a minute. There it is. All right, and as we always do, we start off with every generation has its purpose. Ours is to reveal the truth and reverse the brainwashing, and that we do right here. All right, let me get my disclaimer out the way, and I'll be right with you. Wait a minute, where is it? There it is.
The views and opinions expressed on Open Eye are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors, and do not reflect the policy or position of WHGE 95.3 FM, nor our sponsor, the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Any content provided by Open Eye's hosts, guests, or contributors are theirs and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, company, or individual.
All right. Let's get it in. Let me start off with a couple of with a PSA. All right, and this is really important to me because this is the job that I do. Okay, are you a homeless vet or in danger of homelessness? Do you know a vet that is homeless? There's too many of them out there. If you do, please contact the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets and get them enrolled or get yourself enrolled in the SFVF program. That's Supportive Services for Veteran Families program. That's Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Get assistance with emergency housing, permanent housing. Call 302-842-2119 or find me and reach out. I will definitely help you along the way. That's right. That's Delaware Center for Homeless Vets, Supportive Services for Veteran Families programs. Right here in Delaware. DCHV, changing veterans' lives all over Delaware. All right. And you know, this isn't the only show that comes on Saturdays, in case you were wondering. You want to tune in to WHGE 95.3 FM, of course, for the Open Eye. I don't want to give you tuned in for that. At 3 o'clock, the Wilmington Renaissance Show with Samantha Ghetto Songbird Hollins. All right, she calls herself, she's a songwriter, producer, guitarist, I guess, yeah, and she had great guests on, and that's from 3 to 4. And at 5, my man Alan Lawrence reviewing the week in review with Alan Lawrence. Don't miss it. And of course at 6, which is daily, at 6 o'clock today too, will be Black History Facts and Reflections with our host, Dr. Harmon R. Carey, who's our station manager, our illustrious leader, So let's get it on. Let's get it on. All right. In case some of y'all forgot, I don't want you to forget about this dude, okay? Because he sacrificed it all. He sacrificed it all, let me tell you. He wore the red and gold with pride, but he carried something even heavier. The weight of truth, of justice, of conscience. Colin Kaepernick didn't just make plays, he made a stand. Don't forget that. When the world watched him kneel, some saw controversy. That's because they was looking through racist lens. But most of us saw courage, a voice in the silence, a fire that burned not for glory but for change. On the field, he led the Niners to the doorstep of a championship. But off the field, he sparked a global conversation. He gave up the game he loved for the values he lived. Not many people strong enough to do that. And while the world debated him, his legacy was being etched into history, far beyond stats or rings. He reminded us that sometimes the biggest battles are fought when the lights are the brightest and you stand alone. Whether you agreed or not, one thing is certain. He has the heart of a warrior and the soul of a leader. Colin Kaepernick, a 49er, a fighter, a symbol. Not someone we should forget. That's right. And of course we have others that made history, broke barriers and what have you. This lady, she broke barriers with beauty and brains. I'm talking about Dr. Gloria Ford Gilmer. Dr. Gloria Ford Gilmer wasn't just a mathematician. She was a cultural translator of math. As the first African-American woman to publish math research in a peer-reviewed journal, she opened doors in a field that had long shut out women like her. But what made her work groundbreaking was her belief that math lived in culture and in our culture. She studied cornrows, quilts, and everyday black traditions to show that geometry, symmetry, and sequencing were woven into daily life. Her research on hair braiding revealed the complex mathematical structures, tessellations, grids, and braiding algorithms, showing young black students that their heritage was already rich with math. Gilmer earned her PhD in her 60s, but co-founded the International Study Group on Ethnomathematics. Yeah. And worked tirelessly to bring cultural relevance to STEM education. Her message was clear. Math is everywhere, especially in us. Yeah. And you don't think so? You think about some of the people in your family. I think about my grandfather, something my father told me. That he could walk in a room and look at the floor and look at the size of the room. And he could tell you how many planks of wood you needed to make the flooring in that room. It's in our DNA because my brother inherited that. When my brother was a painter, he could walk in a room and look the room over without a measuring tape and tell you how many coats of paint, how many cans of paint you needed to get X number of coats. I always thought he was brilliant with that. My father repaired furniture. He wove caning in the chairs. Okay? He could look it over and count it off a little bit. And he would know how much cane he needed to repair that chair. It's amazing. It's amazing. Those are the small examples Then Shango Bone, which was probably the first calculator. Look at the circumference of the pyramid. Yes, they were built by black men. If you add up the circumference of the pyramids, you get the figure pi long before the Pythagoras theorem. Brilliant. It's in you. That's why Dr. Gilmer looked at hair braiding. Did you know our people would braid maps into hair so that escaped slaves would know which way to go? I can't even imagine that. Can you wrap your mind around that? Yeah. It's in our DNA. The brilliance comes with your spirit. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. All right, Brother Carey. All right. Hang in there. Good luck. Brother Howland, I see you. WHGE 95.3 FM. You know, some quotes y'all can't handle. I don't want to say y'all because you tune into the Open Eye, you can handle it. Here's a quote. I have no mercy or compassion in me for a society that will crush people and then penalize them for not being able to stand up under the weight. Malcolm X. You know, Rich Pryor on that Ninja's crazy, no, on Bicentennial Ninja. One of the things that Richard said, that's why Richard was the GOAT, greatest of all time. He was playing a character. And he said, it puts you in a position where you can't do anything. And then say, see? Rich got it. Eye was open. Just to give you an example. The Orange Disasters regime has canceled a requirement of Alabama to clean up raw sewage flowing in the yards where kids play in rural, impoverished, and majority black communities. Calling the cleanup requirement illegal diversity, equity, and inclusion. This encapsulates the Trump regime's illegal DEI crusade, diversity, equity, and inclusion crusade. I say it out because I don't want it to become an acronym that's even easier to throw away. I want us to be clear that they do not like diversity, equity, and inclusion. What is illegal diversity, equity, and inclusion to them? Programs stopping and cleaning up the raw sewage flowing from racism. What is legal to them? Practices that specifically harm black people. Don't forget, these people are your enemy. Any person running around with conditis. Oh, and don't think Delaware was immune, as Brother Hameen pointed out. No, Delaware is not immune from the history of the violence of lynching. On June 23rd, 1903, George White, a black farm laborer, was lynched near this site where this plaque is, near the site where this plaque was put up by a mob of white citizens. After being accused of murdering a white girl on June 16, Mr. White was taken to Newcastle County Workhouse to await trial. On June 21st, a local minister urged at least 3,000 white residents to exact swift public vengeance. The next evening, a mob stormed the jail and carried Mr. White to Price's Corner. Now, that's where the plaque is near. He was tortured and burned alive on June 23rd in front of hundreds of spectators. This wasn't the KKK. These are regular white citizens. And they took pieces of his remains as souvenirs right here in Delaware. In Newcastle County. No one was convicted for Mr. White's lynching. One of over 4,000 racial terror lynchings from 1877 to 1950. That's 4,000 recorded, documented terror lynchings by white communities. Notice I didn't say by the KKK. Yeah, it makes me think of something that, like I said, this happened in Newcastle County. It made me think of something that my grandmother told me about her father. He lived downstate. But he was a man that would not bow down. And his family knew, in the environment, especially downstate, and especially during those times, downstate Delaware, you might as well have been in Mississippi on the Delta. His family knew that straightening up your back to get your neck stretched. They made him move up to Newcastle County. Damn. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Fly, Robin, fly. No, fly, Gail, fly. Fly, Gail, fly. Gail King. Got mad at people because they wouldn't call her dumbass an astronaut. Yeah, freaking a space cadet is what you are, Gail King. Oh yeah, she clipped back at critics of her Jeff Bezos funded Blue Origin flight by suggesting they take a trip to space themselves. Oh yeah, she made a big deal of it. I wish people would do more due diligence. And then my question is, have you been? Have you been to space? No, I ain't been to space. For what? She dare critics to go to space. Or go to Blue Origin. I ain't got no damn money to stay going to space. King acknowledged that the 11-minute flight, where she took alongside 5 other women, including Bezos' fiancée and pop star Katy Perry, was expensive. While Blue Origin doesn't disclose the cost of securing a seat, it requires interested potential astronauts to agree to pay $150,000 to begin the process. And you bragging this. Oh, they wanted to take, they went up in space because they want to see, we could take trash up there. Y'all ain't dirtied up the earth enough. And you want to put some trash in space. God. But Space Cadet Gail King, she took issue with people dismissing the mission. All right? And for people calling it a mere ride. She thought that was disrespectful. You took a ride into space. Now you want us to call you an astronaut. No, you ain't no astronaut. You're a damn space cadet. That's right. That's like I scratch a dog's head now. I'm a vet. Because I made him wag his tail, calm down, or whatever. No, you're a space cadet. And you know what? I tell you, it's not news that she goofy as hell. Wanting people to, she inspired, but she ain't inspired nobody. Y'all wasted all that money, people running around here hungry. Can't afford a goddamn egg. And you mad at people for pointing out the frivolous foolishness of you being a space cadet, and now you mad because won't nobody call you a silly ass an astronaut. Go to hell. WHGE 95.3 FM, Open Eye. WHGE 95.3 FM, your third eye optometrist, Patrice Gibbs here. Okay. And of course, Oprah was there. She didn't get on the thing. But you want somebody to inspire? You want someone to be inspired by you? Actually do some work. Look into things that are going on in our community. Like, for instance, a community in southwestern Mississippi is raising questions over the charges a man faces for a deadly crash that killed a young black boy in an incident the child's family believes wasn't just an accident, but a hate crime. According to Amite County Sheriff's Office, 10-year-old Jordan Hill was killed on April 6th right after he was hit by a pickup truck. WLBT reported. Hill was riding an ATV when the truck fatally struck him, and the driver fled the scene, where authorities later found 10-year-old Hill dead. Cody Rollinson was arrested the same day the fatal crash took place, but was only charged with possession of marijuana and felony leaving the scene of a crash. No charges that hold him responsible for Hill's death were immediately filed. Rollinson was later released on a $41,000 bond. Killed a child. $41,000 bond. And y'all know what I'm thinking about. Thinking about Carmelo Anthony, even though his bond was reduced to $250,000 from $1 million by a black judge, a black Republican judge. He was protecting himself. This child was out playing, and some smoked up racist ran him over. Local and state agencies are investigating this case, including the Mississippi Highway Patrol. And Mike County authorities say additional charges could be filed depending on results of Rollinson's toxicology tests. Even if you're stone cold sober, that's vehicular homicide at worst, vehicular manslaughter at best, and he fled the scene of the crime. Jordan's family doesn't believe the collision was just an accident, but was committed with intention and racial motivation. They are demanding that Rollinson be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Excuse me. We are heartbroken and bereaved and demanding answers after the senseless murder of the 10-year-old Jordan Hill in Liberty, Mississippi. Hill family spokesperson Markel Bridges said Jordan was simply riding his ATV on the side of the road, not in the road, not causing harm, just being a child. A racist white man took it upon himself to take Jordan's life. This was not a misunderstanding. This was not an accident. This was a hate crime. So far, there's no clear indication revealing whether racial bias played a role in the crash or why the family believes the incident was racially motivated. Atlanta Black Star has reached out to the family spokesperson for further details. Outrage is spreading from the Liberty community and reaching social media. Some people are circulating the family's assertions that the deadly collision was intentional and racially motivated. Although investigation is ongoing, people say other parts of Rollison's case as it stands now aren't adding up. Many people allege that Rollison was driving with a suspended license, an offense he has not been charged with. Even if we didn't have the full story, like some people are saying, it still makes no sense. The man has drugs on him. He has a suspended license. He drives away. He gets into an accident regardless of fault, and someone died. Isn't that manslaughter at the very least? It's so simple. He should be in prison, even if you give the most grace possible and say it was an accident. Even with the little information we know 100%. At this moment, the driver had a suspended driver's license, prior DUI, car smelled of weed, he had it in the car. He should be in jail for vehicular manslaughter at least, pending other charges. For them to let this man walk after what he has done means that you have to check the judges and the officials in that town. It's Mississippi. It shines a light on what's been going on all the time. Mississippi, goddamn it. Or goddamn Mississippi. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Hey there, Bev. I see you, sister. All right. Throughout history, whites have demonstrated an almost complete absence of ethical or moral behavior and an almost total disregard for the lives of black people. Their subjugation, murder, and exploitation of black people is unparalleled. Given that history, to now believe statistics from entirely white sources that always favors them is insane. It's psychological warfare. Those negative statistics subliminally conveys the message that whites are superior and that we need them to govern over our lives. They subdue us to be compliant with white dominance. Okay. Tell you about their morality or lack thereof. Florida State University shooter, known for white supremacist views, was raised in the sheriff's office culture and worshiped the Orange disaster. Steeped in the culture of the Leon County Sheriff's Office, where his stepmother was a longtime deputy, alleged Florida State University shooter Phoenix Eichner was widely known for his racist views, telling classmates that black people were ruining his community. Like, what happens when black people get dissatisfied, distraught, upset, mentally exhausted, can't take it no more. Think about that. I'm going to tell you what happens when that happens to black people. We back up, regroup, and become resilient. Yeah. Eitner suspected of killing 2 people and wounding 6 others after opening fire on FSU's campus. Also believed civil rights icon Rosa Parks was in the wrong when she refused to give up her seat on a Montgomery bus to a white man. I'm going to tell you about somebody else who would have thought she was wrong. Of course, this guy, you know, he's in jail or whatever, and they're going to deal with him. How many times do we hear people say, well, you know, if black children's mothers raised them right, you know what? Maybe if white mothers raised their children to be leery of other white folks, instead of training them to fear black folks, there wouldn't be so many white-on-white murders. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. Yeah. Oh, that's funky. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. Trump said the quiet part out loud, didn't he? And you should be worried on this one. Yeah, you should. Because the Orange Disasters regime, don't call it an administration, this is a regime, is considering deporting a new class of people. And their identity might surprise you. American citizens. Yeah. That's what they want to do. But what's the guy's name? I had it right here. Jeez Louise. Mr. Garcia, Grego Garcia. The guy that they snatched up with no due process and sent him to El Salvador. And won't bring him back. In a White House appearance with Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele on Monday, the Orange Disaster mused about sending Americans to El Salvador's prisons. And something my boy pointed out to me, why he ain't bringing him back. Because he already been paid for it, $20,000. I was afraid that they offed him. Yeah. And he wants to send Americans there. If it's a homegrown criminal, I have no problem. No, Trump said. I'm talking about violent people. I'm talking about really bad people. The president encouraged Bukele to build more prisons for people he described as homegrown. So he's telling the El Salvadorian president to build more prisons. And you know, prisons for profit, right? We've been making out pretty good with that here. Round up a bunch of ninjas and lock them up and put them to work. Because, you know, we still have slavery here. Oh, it was outlawed, but the 13th Amendment says slavery is still legal if duly convicted of a crime. These will be heinous, violent criminals who have broken our nation's laws repeatedly. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt explained at a recent press briefing, saying that the administration was not sure if it was legal. No, it ain't legal. Because when there's something being illegal, stop someone convicted of 34 felonies. The hell out of here. To send his ass. 47 said he loves the idea of sending U.S. citizens to El Salvador. I would only do it according to the law. But I've suggested that, you know, why should it stop just at people who cross the border illegally? We have some horrible criminals, American grown and born. American grown and born. Okay? Because in the mind of this racist bastard, the fact that you were born black makes you criminal. To be clear, there is no legal pathway for any president to deport native-born U.S. citizens. Sending Americans to El Salvador will be illegal under existing U.S. and international law. Such a move would not only be unconstitutional, it could amount to an improper overreach by the executive branch into the judicial system. When the Orange Disaster said last week that he would love to send imprisoned Americans to El Salvador, he added, I don't know what the law says on that. He don't know what the damn thing says. But I can't imagine the law would say anything different. BS. In fact, U.S. law does say something very different. One statute says that any person in custody of the Bureau of Prisons must be able to be transported to court. This would probably not be possible if a person was in El Salvador, where the government is currently maintaining that it cannot bring back a migrant wrongfully deported there. Trump don't want them to bring them back, and he's with that. Another law states that incarcerated people can only be transferred out of the U.S. to the country where they are a citizen, which would rule out Americans being sent to El Salvador. The U.S. is a signatory to the Convention Against Torture, which forbids sending people to a country where they could be at risk for torture, not just torture, murder, because that prison in El Salvador never fills up. But they don't release nobody. How come the jail never fills up, but they don't release no goddamn body? Because they offing people. That's why I was concerned that Garcia was murdered. Because this is where they went to the killing ground. And that's what the Orange Disaster and his minions want to do to black people. Send them off to some foreign torture chamber where they're murdered. God damn, you talk about population control. You lock his ass up, man. WHGE 95.3 FM, Open Eye. WHGE 95.3 FM. Patrice Gibbs here. Yeah, it's something what proximity does. All right? To other groups, so-called people of color. You gotta be careful with these people of color. Because some of them tan well and want to call it brotherhood when it's convenient for them. And others, even when they tan well, feeling that proximity to whiteness makes them our enemy. Self-declared enemy. Case in point. Police in California Bay are investigating an incident in which a woman aimed a vulgar, racist tirade at a black woman that was recorded and posted online, where it garnered millions of views. In the video, a dark-toned woman sitting in the driver's seat of a car calls a black woman the N-word incessantly, insults her, fake-ass eyelashes, and tells her to get out of my face, you effing N-word. Now, I saw the woman. She looked like a woman from India. And dark. Though she probably considers herself Caucasian. And as the woman repeatedly spews the N-word, the victim tells her to stop calling her the slur, saying, stop sitting here calling me an N-word because you want to put hands on me. And you make me want to put hands on you so bad, you racist. Now, the 15-second clip cuts off there, but not before the person recording pans over to show the license plate of the car belonging to the woman who launched into this racist outburst. The video was posted and reshared on multiple social platforms, drawing nearly 50 million views. Local media reports placed the scene of the confrontation at a public parking lot beside a restaurant in Pinole, California. The restaurant owner told NBC Bay Area that on Sunday, April 13th, a bartender saw the woman in the video at the bar by herself, where she ordered food but no alcohol. So she wasn't drunk. That's where the staff member said the woman was at the bar for about 10 minutes before leaving. Soon after, police arrived and pulled into the parking lot. The victim, who didn't want to be identified, said the verbal assault came out of nowhere. Came out of nowhere. Hey, Brother Lawrence, thank you. It's quite unfortunate, the verbiage she was using. It's unacceptable, the victim told KTVU. I don't understand why she was using it towards anybody in public at all. She's obviously not supposed to be using that type of vulgar language. It's unclear what led up to the outburst, but authorities said they're investigating the incident as a hate crime. Due to the nature of the verbal exchange between the involved parties, the incident has been classified as a hate incident and is currently being investigated as such. Seeing the footage, I'm disturbed, I'm outraged. The use of racial slurs, everything from racist anti-black rhetoric, is not welcome anywhere, especially in our city, said Pinole Mayor Cameron Sasai. The woman in the video has not been formally identified yet, but according to KTVU, she was charged earlier this year for repeatedly stealing items from an Ulta beauty store. The mother of the woman caught on camera is sad and has been crying constantly after learning about the video. And where you learn that at? Where she learn that at, Mom? Where she learn that at? Just going in with the N-word. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm old school. I grew up in the 70s, a time when a black man calling another black man the N-word could lead to a fight or worse. Those fighting words. That's what we were taught. You didn't use the word unless you were ready to fight. I rarely use the word now. I hear what people are saying about taking the word's power and making it an acceptable noun, a term of affection even. I disagree. It is a word that describes our once wretched survival in place in the social structure that is white supremacy. A couple of weeks ago, I read an incident to you about an old man that decided to get up in this young black man's face and call him all kind of N-words. That's a story I got from Touré. And the young man hit him, knocked him down, he hit his head, and he died a few days later. But you know what? That young man got house arrest, probation, and no jail time. Why? Because the prosecutor said the plea deal considered the totality of circumstances, including the despicable slur used by the victim. See, if that sister had whooped her ass, or worse, and she got this prosecutor right here who was righteous, who said it would be hard to convince a jury that a person's not allowed to hit someone who instigated a confrontation by storming into somebody's face and barking the most aggressive, inflammatory term in the English language in their face. So right there, he's saying the N-word is a particularly triggering, horrific word in this language. It is violence. It is violence. That word is violence. How do you say why? Why is it violence? Because in this assertion of white superiority. When it comes out of a white person or a person who is not black's mouth, a white person who wants, or a person of so-called color who wants to be recognized and enjoy proximity to whiteness, it's an assertion of white superiority. It is violent. It is the most violent word we have. And if you swing that at somebody, they are in self-defense after that. WHGE 95.3 FM, Open Eye. Hey, little sister, little niece Rhonda, I see you over there. Yes, indeed. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Yeah, we're coming up on Easter. Yes, indeed, coming up on Easter. Hey, down there, Lady D, I see. Yeah. And as usual, you know, there'll be people out there with their Easter clothes and what have you. And what is it? Easter evening. I can remember it was a tradition to watch the 10 Commandments. And care what you think of it and what you think of the casting and all that. It's a really damn good movie. Yeah. Yes, D. And here's the thing. I tried to, especially on one-to-one personal basis, not get into it with people that are religious or Christian or even Muslim, whatever. There's a problem with debating the religious. The reason why there is rarely any resolve when so-called conscious people and religious people debate is because the so-called conscious person presents documented facts, critical thinking and reason and common sense. But the religious person has been conditioned by religion to stand by blind faith, even when the abundance of evidence is to the contrary. To argue with a person that has renounced the use of reason, facts, and common sense is like giving medicine to the dead. It's a waste of time. And you wonder why you had so many young people leaving the church and leaving mainstream religion. Okay? Because of people like this Rocket Raccoon in Atlanta. Yeah. This rising black pastor in Atlanta is facing backlash following controversial statements he told his congregation regarding police brutality. According to Atlanta's Black Star, Philip Anthony Mitchell, who oversees the members of 2819 Church, challenged attendees to expand their perspective on being submittal to government authority. The main takeaway from a recent sermon that he wanted parental figures to grasp was that the black community must stop blaming white cops for the killing of black kids. Mitchell's sermon urged black parents to teach obedience over resistance to the police. Instead, teach your black children to be obedient to authority. I don't care if most of you are black. We need to teach our children to not fight against authority, not fight against cops. To try to point home, Mitchell recalled a life-changing encounter with a white policeman while strolling through a neighborhood in his hometown of Queens, New York. The officer used excessive force and intimidation tactics, like holding a gun to his head, before warning him to say something. In that moment, with a Glock pressed to my head, I thought either my ego is going to be strong or my submission to authority is going to be stronger than my ego. And if I had not been taught to obey authority, and because I was not saying I'm separated from God for all eternity by a cop's bullet. Mitchell's sermon about police brutality is sparking criticism online, and well it should. Mitchell acknowledged that it would not be surprising for his community to feel disdain over his comments, no crack. Still, he reminded people to be model citizens. Stop being rebellious towards authority. He's now receiving criticism from those who came across the clip on Instagram. I wouldn't argue with him. You know, he's in the church. Remember what I told you, April 5th, the day after Martin Luther King was killed. See, he's in one of those churches that would consider Dr. King a troublemaker. He would agree with that bastard that went to FSU and said Rosa Parks should have submitted. He would agree with that. Need your ass whooped. See, he's someone that Harriet Tubman would have shot. Stop blaming police. Stop blaming. George Floyd was murdered by a Minneapolis police officer. Publicly. It was a public lynching. Tamir Rice was a 12-year-old child playing in the park with a toy gun. He didn't have a time to submit because as soon as they jumped out the car, they shot him. 12 years old. He had no time. He had no chance to submit to authority. Are you kidding me? And when we do submit to authority, like Philando Castile, who was fatally shot during a traffic stop and told the cop that he was legally armed. An Asian cop with white proximity murdered him. Murdered him. Both of them John. Sitting in his apartment. Off-duty officer Amber Geiger entered his apartment saying she thought she was in the wrong place. He had no time to submit to authority. She murdered him. Breonna Taylor, home sleep. And it was real messy. They ran up in her home and murdered her. What time did she have to submit to authority? But I tell you what, Reverend Chickenfoot, you better bring your ass around me. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Patrice Gibbs, third eye optometrist. I saw a video recently where the white guy, and he asked, name something that white people do the other races think is weird. Oh boy, this white dude answered him too. He had a list, including protests for dead animals, but not people. Not scrub their legs in the shower. I've seen videos, I told you about one last week, where these white people are talking about not bathing regularly, and when they do, they only hit the hot spots. Putting raisins in stuff where they don't belong. Name something that white people do other races think is weird. Think Jesus is white. Now, of course, I have my views on that. The thing is this. Okay? Jesus was in the Middle East, according to the scripture. Now, of course, the Middle East is, compared to the world, to the earth, it's just a small area. Around the Mediterranean, the Red Sea, and all that. The thing is, was Jesus Greek? No. Was he Roman? No. Well, these were only white people or Europeans there at the time. Of course, then they didn't have white people. You didn't really have any white people until 1619, but of course, that's another story. Weird things white people think. Weird things white people do that other races think is weird. They pretend unfettered capitalism is good for them. That's so crazy. They call their parents by their first name. I know if I call John or Jane by their first name, I better be standing down the street. On your mark, get set, go. Join the KKK. Appropriate other cultures. And get real effing sensitive when anybody calls them out on anything. Name something that white people do that other people think is weird. Country music. Let the cats walk on the counter. Deep fried cauliflower. What the hell is that? Be all up in everybody's business all the time. Be all up in stuff they should, if they're sister. Tell people born in America to go back where they came from, like the Orange Disaster. Let the kids throw a fit out in public. They do that. Put costumes on animals. and had the nerve to explain someone's culture to them. That's where Rhonda eat ice cream after the dog. You can't. I don't do that potluck thing. I've seen the woman to stirring up the stuff and then let the cat lick it and keep on stirring, and then she's gonna serve it up. Revise history. Own Confederate anything. Ask for the manager. Wear the outside shoes in the house. Hold a picture of a dead fish on a dating app. Take guns to church. Oh, guns, call 911. Go up the stairs in a horror movie. And after doing all that, act like they're superior with no goddamn supporting evidence. Jeez Louise. I tell you, I'm gonna keep it moving because it's coming to a close here. But by now, we've all heard about the tariffs and the trade war going on. China is all up in America's wazoo. They just dogging on. J.D. Vance, a straight idiot, junior vice president, called the Chinese peasants. Excuse me, sir, you live in America. You're a goddamn peasant. I got this from Bun Miso Supreme, Sister Bun Miso Supreme. China dominates the global economy because it embraces what America fears most: real labor. While the West chases branding and financial bubbles, China built an entire empire on actual production. And now their rise exposes a fatal flaw in white capitalism's disdain for work. For centuries, white economic elites have structured society around avoiding labor while extracting it from others. Enslaved Africans built the global South, while European aristocrats and plantation owners positioned themselves as gentlemen. A tradition that frames manual labor as racially inferior. After slavery, Jim Crow, and other exploitative labor laws kept black and immigrant workers in underpaid production roles, while white capitalists rebranded themselves as managers, investors, and entrepreneurs. Nothing but a bunch of lazy bastards. The Industrial Revolution amplified this divide. White industrialists like Carnegie and Rockefeller glorified themselves as self-made, while their fortunes rested on child labor, immigrant sweatshops, and violent union suppression. By the late 20th century, America began offshoring its labor to China. Not just for cheap wages, but because whiteness had fully divorced itself from the stigma of manual labor. U.S. executives justified this by labeling manufactured jobs as low skill, which is really just a racially coded term. Pouring money into marketing, financing, and branding industries that produce nothing tangible but generate massive profits through psychological manipulation. That's why you're running around with a burqa bag that you paid $3,000 for, or $38,000 that it cost $15 to make. Meanwhile, China weaponizes America's labor version. They built the world's most efficient manufacturing base, not just by making good, but by mastering supply chains, infrastructure, and real productivity. Now China controls 80% of global solar powering, 70% of lithium refining, 50% of shipbuilding, while the U.S. economy relies on inflating stock value branding hollow luxuries, and predatory gig work. And what is the result of China's GDP? China's GDP has grown 40 times since 1990. Meanwhile, U.S. wages stagnate as labor is devalued and jobs are replaced with hustle culture. America's infrastructure crumbles while China builds high-speed railways, smart cities, and AI-driven factories. You should see their smart cities. Go online and check them out. We need to get over there. Learn how to speak Mandarin. White capitalism's contempt for labor has left America with a failing economy. All right. This is a place where financiers are richer than engineers. They're influencers, richer than engineers. Influencers easily out-earn factory workers, and branding is valued over building. China's dominance proves that real power comes from production, not propaganda. The U.S. can either confront its racist labor heresy or reinvest in real work, or watch as the next century belongs to those who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty. Y'all better wake up. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. All right. Patrice Gibbs, your third eye optometrist here. I want to thank you all for joining me on The Open Eye. And I always tell you, I hope you learned something, because I learned something before I got here. And as we always tell you, destiny determines who enters your life, but you decide who stays. Therefore, value those who value you, and don't treat those as a priority who treat you as an option. I'm Patrice Gibbs, WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. All right. What's the solution? I see you, Sister Lady Dean. I see you. Our solution is to rely on our resilience, build up our own, to look at our examples that were given to us by people that built Black Wall Street, that built Seneca Village, that built Rosewood. This ain't Jim Crow no more. Learn to depend on us. All right. And look to Africa. Burkina Faso is having a little trouble right now, but their leader is strong. He gonna handle it. Global African supremacy, because the world was a much better place when the African ruled. I'm Patrice Gibbs.